What's doing, everybody? Welcome to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. If you've never been here before, hit the subscribe button. Everybody else, welcome back. We're going to talk about the update on the Robert Brooks case today. And for those of you that may not have heard about it, I posted several videos discussing this case and following through with this case from the very beginning. I've been on top of it. And for those of you that have never been here before or do not know about the Robert Brooks case, this was the 10 correctional officers, the 10 New York State correctional officers that were charged in the beating death of a prisoner, Robert Brooks, age 43, at Marcy Correctional Facility in Marcy, New York. He was being transferred. The prisoner, 43-year-old Robert Brooks, was being transferred from Mohawk Correctional Facility going to Marcy Correctional Facility. And during that transfer, correctional officers began to beat Robert Brooks before he even entered the facility he was being transferred to. Once he was inside of the facility of Marcy Correctional Facility, he was brought inside of the infirmary. And while he was in the infirmary, there was a total of 10 correctional officers, as well as several nurses who witnessed the beating of Robert Brooks, and eventually it turned into the murder of Robert Brooks. What's very disturbing about this case, besides the fact that it was a vicious, vicious beating, where they kicked him in the groin, where they kicked him in the face, where they lifted him up into the air by his throat, where they took Clorox wipes and stuck them down his throat. What's more disturbing than that is the fact that there was no, not that there is any justification for a beating like that. And I should say the beating of a handcuffed man, that Robert Brooks was handcuffed through the entire ordeal. So this was all caught on video on a body camera that the correctional officers did not know was filming. Because all of them shut off their body cameras, but one body camera was still filming. And if it wasn't for the data and the information and the camera footage itself, these correctional officers would not have been charged, and they would continue to beat, abuse, neglect, and torture prisoners as they were doing before this. Several of the officers were already under investigation by the Attorney General for abusing prisoners before this took place. So a total of 10 correctional officers were indicted on various charges, from the lowest being tampering with evidence to manslaughter in the first degree, manslaughter in the second degree, and murder in the second degree. Those were the charges spread out through the 10. What I was saying was, what's really disturbing is that they have no reason for killing Robert Brooks. No correctional officer has said why they decided to beat Robert Brooks. And the theory, and a theory that I can go along with, for those of you that have never been here, I served 17 years in the New York State prison system. I was in Mid-State Correctional Facility, which is right across the street from where this facility is, from where Marcy Correctional Facility is. Mid-State Correctional Facility is in Marcy, New York, and they always had the reputation for beating inmates. This was not a one-time thing in the slightest. So before I continue, let me say this about correctional officers. I've made this very clear in many of my videos. There are some bad apples. There is an alarming number of bad apples, but that takes place in any profession in the world, not just correctional officers. When you look at lawyers, there's good lawyers and lawyers that are corrupt and lawyers that lie and lawyers that steal. Whether you're in banking, there's people that steal money, people that correct. In any field that you go into, there's good and bad. So during my 17 years incarcerated, I met some horrible, horrible, abusive correctional officers. And I met some correctional officers that were really good guys, guys that really cared about the people that they were supervising, Will I say that it was the majority of them? No, I don't think I can say it was the majority. I think it was the minority, that many of them get caught up in the gang mentality, just like a gang would get caught up in the street. But out of the 10 correctional officers that you see right here in the picture, um, six of them have already accepted plea bargains. I'm going to read to you what they have accepted. So, this killing took place on December 9th, 2024. No one gave a justification on why they did this to Robert Brooks. They cannot say that he attacked them, he was handcuffed. They cannot say that he assaulted them because he was handcuffed. There was no claim that he assaulted them, no claim that he spit in their faces. They purely did this for their enjoyment. And this is what happens, and it's a whole different psychology when you get a group of people together, human nature, and you give them power over another individual, right? Uh, uh, they people abuse that power. And this is very common in the field of the Department of Corrections because you're giving people a power over a minority, right? And that's a whole different topic. We'll get back into that a little bit. Let me explain to you. I got a fly flying around. Let me explain to you the charges. Christopher Walrath was already pled guilty, and he was sentenced to 15 years. 15 years with 5 years of post-release supervision, which is just like parole. So that's what he received, 15 years in prison. Out of that 15 years, Christopher Walrath will have to serve probably about 12 or 13 years. You also have Nicholas Anzalone and Anthony Farina. Nicholas Anzalone and Anthony Farina were charged with manslaughter in the first degree. They pled guilty and they received a 22-year sentence. So both of those gentlemen, if you want to call them that, both of those former disgraced correctional officers will be serving 22 years in the New York State prison system. Then you have Michael Mashaw and David Walters. Michael Mashaw pled guilty to second degree manslaughter. He received a 3 to 9 year sentence. And David Walters received two and a third to a 7 year sentence. That was for manslaughter in the second degree. The reason that there's different charges is everybody didn't have the same level of culpability. People did different things, right? So it's not, you will say they should all do 22 years or they should all do 25 years, even if they weren't correctional officers. If this was just a group of kids on the street who killed someone or a group of teenagers who killed someone, everyone would have a different level of culpability. Some of these individuals that I'm mentioning may not have even hit Robert Brooks. And so this is the reason for the different sentencing. You also have Nicholas Gentile. He was only charged with tampering with evidence, and he received a 1 year sentence, which is a conditional discharge sentence. So obviously, none of these officers have started their prison sentence yet. They will all have to turn themselves in soon. They are not incarcerated yet, but they will be shortly. So that's six of the officers that out of the 10 that I mentioned. So there's four more. The four that are still left are going to trial. They're not accepting the plea bargains like these other officers that I mentioned. And their trial is scheduled, well, three of them have a trial scheduled for 5 days from now. October 6th is the trial doesn't start, but pre-trial hearings will start, motions will start, and the process will begin. You have Michael Fisher. Michael Fisher, out of the four that are left over, he's 55 years old. He was able to get his trial separated from the other three officers. Okay, those three officers are going to be charged, are going to trial at the same time. But Michael Fisher was able to get his trial separated and get a postponement. And the reason he was able to do that was his level of culpability, right? They filed a motion with the court saying that he did not actually lay hands on Robert Brooks. So that makes you an accessory to murder or an accomplice to murder. But they're saying that that charge wasn't correct. Even though they charged him with an accessory to the murder, that charge doesn't fit. And it's there's excuse me, there's different standards of law. So he was separated from the other three, and he was going to go to pre-trial hearings in January. So he's postponed a little bit. But the other three officers, who are Nicholas Kiefer rejected an 8-year sentence. He was offered 8 years. He rejected that. And these three are charged with murder. Matthew Gallagher, also charged with murder, and David Kingsley, also charged with murder. Those three individuals, in 5 days from now, on October 6th, are ready to begin their trial hearings and their trial motions in Oneida County Court. I'm trying to find out right now if it's open to the public. If it's open to the public, I'm thinking about driving up there in 5 days. It's a very far drive for me, and so I don't mind the far drive, but I mind the far drive if I'm going there for nothing. I don't want to go there for nothing. If I go there, I want to be able to go into the court, and I also want to know if I can film, if there's cameras allowed in the courtroom. So I'm investigating that now. But that's what's going on with the Robert Brooks trial. The officers who have already accepted their plea bargains and will be incarcerated shortly, where will they go? There, I can't tell you exactly where they will go. My hunch is, right, after they go through reception, that they will go to Dannemora, which is Clinton Correctional Facility. And the reason for that is there's a unit there called APPU. Now, this is speculation. I could be wrong, right? APPU is where they put former police officers, former correctional officers, former judges, very high profile cases that had a very big racial aspect to them. It's a form of protective custody. But it's like involuntary protective custody. It's where they put you when they have one of those cases I mentioned. Because they were correctional officers, there is no way in the world they are going into the general population of a maximum security prison. They would be taken out. I can guarantee you that prisoners would end their life if they were put in a maximum security prison. You're not going to be a correctional officer and kill a prisoner with absolutely no justification and then get put in the general population with other prisoners who are serving a life sentence. You're as good as finished. So they could get put in Clinton, APPU, or they could stick them, even though they have maximum security time. It's possible they can put them in a medium security prison and even put them in an area all by themselves. They probably will receive some special privilege in order to protect them, and special privilege to begin with, just because they were former correctional officers. Will the correctional officers that are working treat them any differently because they were correctional officers? I would say yes. I would say that the many of the correctional officers know or do the same things that they were convicted of, and they will have some mercy on them because of that. They will not talk to them like they are scumbags. They will not talk to them like they're the average criminal out of the projects. You may have correctional officers that do special favors for these guys, because they used to be correctional officers. That's simple. These guys are going to go do their prison time. When they get out, they will be convicted felons for the rest of their life. That doesn't go away. They will never be able to have a firearm again. They will never be able to be involved in law enforcement again. They will never be able to even have city jobs. Eventually, they may. It's possible. But they will be stripped of many of the blessings that normal citizens have, many of the rights that normal citizens have. They will never be able to carry any type of badge again. They will never be able to be a security guard. They will never be able to obtain certain jobs because of the violent convicted felon that they were convicted of. So their lives are changing. The district attorney is District Attorney Fitzpatrick. Do I think he did a good job in this case? I will say that I think he did a little better than I expected. a little better than I expected. I didn't like the short sentences of 3 to 9 years and 2 1/3 to 7 for Michael Mashaw and David Walters. I think those sentences are a little too low. But maybe through the investigation, they found that those two officers didn't play as significant a role in the murder of Robert Brooks, right? And that's why they were charged with second-degree manslaughter instead of murder. So that's what's going on in the case. October 6th, which is 5 days away, they'll be back in court. I just wanted to keep you updated on everything. I will do a follow-up video when more information comes out. And thank you for tuning into the channel. I appreciate you. If you weren't aware of the Robert Brooks case and you'd like to learn more about it, right here on YouTube, you can just put in the video. You can watch the video, which is very upsetting to watch, but you can see exactly what I'm talking about and exactly what these animals did. So thankfully, they're going to prison. They're facing their day in court. That's why I said I think the district attorney did a little better than I thought. Robert Brooks Jr., the son of Robert Brooks Sr., who was killed. Hopefully, Robert Brooks Jr. is satisfied. Is satisfied with the sentences that were handed down. So they'll be in court 5 more days, and if I'm allowed in court, I'll be there as well. I'm wrapping this up, guys. Stay tuned. Subscribe to the channel. Hang out with me. Watch a lot of my videos, and I'll talk with you guys soon. Be well. Be well. Bye bye.